Guided reading, lesson 12. So far in Cole's kingdom, Cole has travelled to the land of Darius. He's just had a meal with the king, and the king now is telling him that the special seal, the seal of Ferium, I think it was, it needs to go back into the fountain in order to bring back the good weather so that the land will prosper, right? So let's carry on and see where we're up to. Now, also, Cole has just looked at all the colours coming out of the fountain and it's made him feel dizzy, and it says the king watched him with interest. So something's going on there, the fact that the king was looking at him in an interested way when Cole was affected by the magic. And the magic that you can do, Cole asked, with the food in your fire, the king smiled. Ah, he said, that is the power afforded only to those who eat the teoquat fruit. Now this word afforded, you've heard the word afford when people say I can't afford to buy that. It means you don't have enough money. However, afford can also mean that it's given to you. The power that is afforded only to those who eat the teoquat fruit means the power that is given to them. Cole's bemusement, that means confusion. Doesn't mean amusement where you find something funny. Cole's bemusement must have shown on his face because the king chuckled softly. He nodded towards one of the trees to Cole's left. These are the teoquat trees. They are grown of magic and bear a fruit called the teoquat, which, when eaten, has the most wondrous effects. See this word bear? We know the word bear, an animal, but when a tree bears a fruit, it means that the fruit is growing on that tree. Cole examined the closest teoquat tree. The boughs, so those are like the branches, were long and twisted. It looked as though the tree had run out of space to grow in the courtyard, but had carried on regardless. That means but had carried on anyway. Its knotted branches were so entangled with those of the trees around it that it was hard to tell where one finished and the next began. The fruit itself was bulbous. So bulbous would be something like a pumpkin, and heavy-looking, somewhere between an orange and a pear. A strong smell oozed from its skin, not unpleasant but pungent enough to make Cole's eyes water. Pungent is a very strong smell. It seemed that this whole courtyard was buzzing with magical power. As you have seen, the king continued, there are many parts of Darius that are not yet touched by the magic of the Alfarian well. These seals, he gestured at the many circular ornaments lining the edge of the wall, are the key to expanding the reach of our magic, and now that you have returned the final seal to us, I can restore all of Darius to the prosperous land that it once was. Prosperous, it means very successful, that everything is growing, there is lots of money there is lots of success. So when they return that special seal, the magic will spread across the land and make it a nice place. With its return, we are complete. You have done the people of Darius a great kindness, Cole. Cole looked up and saw that the king was holding out his hand. He said no words, but Cole could hear the silent command. A distant part of Cole was determined to tuck the seal back into his pocket and take it straight back to Grandma Jenny. On the other hand, the image of the barren wasteland, so the barren wasteland, it means the land where nothing grows, beyond the city walls, had been haunting him since he had first set foot in the king's palace. He had seen villages and towns in the valley. People were living in that heat, but before he could make up his mind, however, his hand had taken control and he had dropped the seal into the king's outstretched palm. Thank you, the king said, smiling. Cole nodded. I knew that it was special. Okay, let's take a look at a few questions. So it says find and copy, and actually, guys, this is wrong. So it should say find and copy a word, which means, so glad I spotted that. Find and copy a word which means laughed. Read that extract, press pause, and then write it down. Okay, so the word is chuckled. Chuckled is a synonym for laughed. Next one. Find and copy a word in the extract above that means lifeless. So read this extract, press pause and find that word that means lifeless. So the word is barren. Remember, only the part of the place around the king's castle is full of life. Everywhere else is like a desert with really, really hot weather. Nothing is growing there. It's all dusty. There's no water. It's barren. That means lifeless. And this example, it says, explain why Cole is feeling torn in the extract above. Now, let me explain the word torn. If you have a piece of paper, you can tear it like this. You can hear. That's me tearing a piece of paper. I have torn the paper. When you are feeling torn, what it means is half of you thinks you should do one thing and half of you thinks you should do something else. Maybe you've got your homework to do one night after school and you want to do your homework because you want to do well at school. But then your friend is asking you to come online and play a game with them or go and meet them. And you want to do that because you want to have fun. So the two feelings are very strong. You are torn. You want to do two things for different reasons. Why is Cole feeling torn in the extract above? Press pause. Okay, I'll read it, then we'll discuss it. A distant part of Cole, so a part of his spirit, a distant part of his spirit was determined to tuck the seal back into his pocket and take it straight back to Grandma Jenny. So part of him wants to take back the artifact, the golden seal that started it all, back to Grandma Jenny. Because it's hers, it was in her attic. On the other hand, the image of the barren wasteland beyond the city walls had been haunting him. So this desolate place with no rain, with no trees, with no vegetation, it's been haunting him. It's really been bothering him. Since he had first set foot in the king's palace, he had seen villages and towns in the valley. People were living, and then look at the word living is in italics, in that heat. That's because he can't believe there are actually people living in that terrible part. Before he could make up his mind, however, his hand had taken control and he had dropped the seal into the king's outstretched palm. Right, okay, this is what you should have written, something like this. Cole is feeling torn because he wants to take the seal back to Grandma Jenny. However, he also wants to help the people who are living in the barren wasteland. So he's feeling torn between those two feelings. Okay, that's the end of lesson 12. Thanks for taking part, and I will see you for the next guided reading lesson. Bye for now.